From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Carr Night Show. Inviting Joy Nolan and his guest this week, Associate Head Coach Jeff Battle to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the show. And joining me this week, a legend of the basketball world, not just in Philadelphia, but here in Rhode Island, across the country as well. It's a huge pleasure and honor to talk to one of the top coaches, not just as an assistant, but coaches in general in college basketball today. He has had loads of experience at several different colleges. It is my pleasure again to have the coach himself, Jeff Battle. Jeff, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Doing great. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Well, of course, anyone to have someone who coaches here in Rhode Island and who played in Philadelphia with the URI legend being Horace Pappy Owens is a big treat. So thanks again. I want to sort of start like this and then get it out of the way briefly. The last 3 years in your profession, and you've talked about this on other podcasts and other interviews, has been 3 years of craziness, wildness, and uncertainty amongst everyone, not just the basketball world, which has been affected greatly. So now, 3 years later, obviously, before we got going here quickly, mentioning the season starting soon, what's it like to sort of have all the craziness in the quote unquote rearview mirror?
Well, it's good. It's obviously, the main thing is the main thing, obviously, with the season and the basketball. But to get through some trying times and still kind of weather the storm a little bit is refreshing. And we're just glad that stuff's a little bit behind us, obviously, to put smiles on people's faces and get back to doing what everybody loves to do.
Well, and I'm sure it's a great feeling. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, seeing as you coach at the school, that season tickets for the Dunkin' Donuts Center for were sold out pretty quickly. So that must be a good feeling to know that fans are eagerly waiting to get back for another great year.
Yeah, it was great to have the fan support we had last year. It was awesome. I mean, the Dunk, it's now the AMP, obviously, yeah. But the Dunk last year was electric. The students were unbelievable, and it makes a big difference. When you walk into the arena, for warm-ups and the crowd's all jacked up, and we that's our goal. We want that place to be rocking. We want to be one of the toughest places to play in the country, without a doubt.
Exactly. I'm always curious to hear the answer of those who I have on as guests to this next question. So I'll ask you this: what's one thing Jeff Battle has learned about himself over the last 3 years that he didn't know about himself prior?
Probably patience, that I could be a lot more patient than I was in the past. Obviously the experience helps, having the experience to be around the game as long as I have has helped as well. But, I think the older you get, the more patient you get. You have to change with the times. The players are different a little bit now. The eras are different, keeping up with them and the social media and all that. So it's I would say being more patient. I've learned, that I can obviously do that as well as continue to be somewhat successful, within the business as well.
Well, that's, one positive thing that's come to I believe the last 3 years is the ability to really refine skills of things that you didn't appreciate prior to that. I'm sure just walking into the practice facility or into, at the time, the Dunkin' Donuts Center, where like, I can at least be in here. Now you're back at it. Now you can appreciate the smaller things in life. I mentioned in the intro your success as a coach. Every stop you've been at, that sort of, I'm sure, has a thing to do with the success you had as a player at Marshall as well. But prior to going to Marshall, and maybe during your time at Dobbins Tech and as a kid prior to that, your relationship with basketball, not just athletically, but post, maybe high school, what was it?
Well, growing up in Philly, basketball is very popular there.
Yeah.
Growing up within the inner city and playing the game, and then obviously playing at Dobbins Tech, as you alluded to with the great Pappy Owens. I wasn't as good a player as he was, but he was a great friend of mine. We still stay in touch to this day. But I would say just the relationships that we built prior to post high school and stuff like that is something that I'll always cherish and carry with me, moving forward. So, you never forget where you came from. That's a big part of me, and it's a big part of my journey. Growing up, like I said, in Philadelphia, and having some success in what I'm doing now, but it always goes back to your roots and where you came from.
Well, speaking of Owens, both Philadelphia guys both played together. What was it like to experience a talent such as that as a fellow high schooler?
It was great. It was great. He was a McDonald's All-American. He ended up being, obviously a big time player in high school, and then going on and having a great career and then playing at URI. But he's a big part of why, a big reason I should say, why I'm where I'm at now. I wasn't very recruited out of high school, and it was a fate thing where Marshall was coming to recruit him a little bit, and they happened to see me, during the course of the recruiting process. And I didn't have anything out of high school at the end of my senior year, and they kind of remembered, back when they came to watch Pappy play. And that's how the relationship started with me and Marshall. So, if it hadn't been for him and them coming to see him play, I wouldn't have ended up there. I wouldn't have ended up to, having a chance to get into coaching and continue my playing career, let alone get into coaching. So, so that's kind of how that all played out.
Well, I was curious about that then, saying that you're a walk-on, compared to maybe other teams, and maybe I'm wrong, certainly correct me if that is the case, but I'm sure that gave you then a level of tenacity, but also motivation to sort of prove everyone wrong that weren't recruiting you, and the fact that you really want to, be the top dog early on at Marshall to prove the haters wrong.
Yeah, for sure. You go in and, I was, naive when I first got there. I was just trying to survive. As a freshman, you don't know what you don't know. But you're right. It was in the summers, I would go back home and play, in the Philadelphia Summer Leagues. Back then, it was the Sunny Hill College League at the time. And I remember playing there a couple of times, and people, even in the city, were asking who I was. They didn't even remember who I was from high school. So, just to prove yourself on that level, to have people say, wow, he's pretty good. How did he get out of the city? Sure. Where was this guy at? He played at Diamonds. Why isn't he at one of the Big Five schools? So that made me feel good, to be honest with you, because, sure, growing up in Philly, I was a big, big, big Temple fan. I loved John Chaney. He was one of my idols in coaching. And so I always looked up to him, and, the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. practices they used to have at Temple. So I was a big, big John Chaney fan. I was a big Temple fan, and followed the Big Five, and as I still do today. So, but yeah, it was great to go back there to play in the summers and kind of get some of that notoriety that I didn't get while playing in high school.
Going from, seeing as though walking on to Marshall, what was your conversation like once you were on the team with Coach Z about what they expected from you as a player, but then also what you wanted to provide for the team your freshman year?
Well, when I got there, he didn't promise me anything. Even before I got there, he said, I really liked watching you play in high school, but I don't have a scholarship. Would you be willing to come your first year on your own, and then we'll kind of figure it out from there? And once I finally made the team, that was one of the highlights of my life. When he called me, and I never forget when he called me in his office, and he sat me down in his office, and again, I'm there, I'm nervous, I'm saying what's going on here, and he asked me what number did I want, and I was just so nervous. I thought he meant like what was my phone number, and he was like, no, what uniform number do you want? And I said 21, and he was like, congratulations, you're on the team, you just earned your scholarship, boom, boom, boom. So I was like, wow. So ran out of there, went home back to my dorm, and called my parents, told them, hey, look, we don't have to pay for school anymore. So that was a big moment. And I didn't have any expectations at all. I was just excited to get a scholarship. But that summer I went home and I just got after it, worked my tail off. I came back in great shape, end up my junior year, being voted team captain, my senior year, playing in 2 NCAA tournaments. And yeah, it was great. It was just, I never thought that would happen, but I'm very grateful for the people at Marshall, and especially Coach Z for giving me that opportunity.
Well, I'll get to that success which you had as a player, similar to as a coach. Your freshman year at Marshall, the team is, to my knowledge, I don't know how relevant or credible Basketball Reference is, but a guard-heavy team your freshman year. And there was an 8-game win streak. You guys started off the season with 8 out of 10 wins before the game against the Citadel. When you're experiencing things like that, a win streak, you get onto the team, finally get a jersey, and then you experience maybe hardships with maybe a few games you lose in a row. How do you handle that as a young player compared to then maybe your first year as a head coach, or as a coach, I should say?
Well, as a player, you're under the microscope, obviously. You lose games in a row. First thing you do is you look within, like what am I doing to contribute to this, or what can I do to help us, moving forward, to get out of the tailspin. Spending a lot of times with your position coaches, trying to figure out, watching film. But it's hard. It's really hard because it's a mental thing. You start, sure. Just like you can get in a habit of winning, you can get in a habit of losing. So that's something that we didn't want to accept. And so I just wanted to, I wasn't playing as much as a freshman. So I wanted to make sure I just pushed the guys and make sure they were ready come game night to be the best they can be, just as a player to help the
sure.
team. So.
That offseason, although you guys lose to East Tennessee State in the conference tournament, your mindset heading into the following season to now you don't have to worry about losing your spot on the team and scholarship. What was your mindset heading into that and your realistic expectations?
Well, I remember after the season, Coach Z calling me in and saying, "Hey, look, Jeff, I want you to come back and I want you to be in the best shape of your life. And, just pour everything you have into this off season, try to make yourself the best player you can be coming back." And that's what I did. So when I came back, it was like, I felt like I was a guy now. I wasn't just a walk on. I was a key member of the team. I played a little bit, but I had a taste of it. And I knew after that, knowing that I could play at this level and I could be really successful. So I had a lot of confidence and, in the way we played, pushing the ball. And I just felt really comfortable, that next year. And so I knew I was going to eventually have some success, with the team.
That year, the team, although your freshman year, you guys do well, just the same, but the sophomore year, you do even better. You're second in the conference of the Southern Conference, a 20-8 record, 13-3 in the conference. When you have that success early on, you're playing a little bit more. How do you deal with that, but also in the sense of, being able to predict some sort of success?
Well, you can't get content. You gotta, great players. I always say great players are greedy. They want more. When you get a taste of it, you want to keep it rolling. You want to keep getting better. You want to keep getting better. And so, everybody aspires to be a starter. And, I really wanted to be a starter, a starter on the team. But again, my thing was I wanted to help us win, and whatever I could do to contribute to winning, that's what I was willing to do. But, I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't want to start, didn't want to be a vital, member of the team in terms of contributing to winning, because I felt like I could really help us, win games.
That year, although you guys have a good record, there wasn't an NCAA appearance, but although, success just the same. What do you think needed to happen in order to make that next jump up to the big dance that sophomore year?
Belief, just belief. We were, Marshall, wasn't, in the Southern Conference, we were working our way up and kind of just building our name, putting it out there. But I could feel the change. I could feel the momentum starting to change in the culture. With the attendance, people coming to the games, the environment that we had at the Henderson Center. And it was becoming one of the tougher places to play within the conference. So I can kind of feel it, and we're bringing in, a lot of good players, so I could just feel the whole vibe changing. And once you get that and you get the support and, the whole town, the whole city of Huntington kind of rallied behind us, which was really cool. And so we started to take off, after that.
The following your junior year, on top of becoming captain, which you would have senior as well, Coach Z is out and Coach Huckabee is in. What was that vibe change like between both coaches, but then also to be offered that position as captain with a new coach?
Well, it showed that he really believed in me. He hadn't recruited me. He came in with a new staff, different style, different philosophy, but he was very, very confident. And, he instilled that confidence in me. And just from watching on film, he said to me, "Man, the way I play, the way you push the ball, the way you can see the floor, we're gonna kind of, get in your shoes and roll with you. We're gonna let you play. We're gonna let you, play up tempo, do your thing. And I had a little bit of Philly style in me. I could, do some things that would, maybe turn some heads or whatever. I would, have a few turnovers here or there, but for the most part, it was a fun style. And I really, really was attracted to his style of play. And it was a fit right from the beginning. But I think the biggest thing was the trust that he had in me right out of the gate.
There was a game right before New Year's Eve against fifth-ranked Georgetown that season that they would beat you guys. Although you guys would win the regular season championship and then the conference championship and be the big dance bound, what separated, you think, that junior year team between fifth-ranked Georgetown then?
Talent and depth. We had it. We were talented 1 through 13. I mean, our practices were harder than some of the games. We got after it. I mean, the first team and the second team was very competitive, and we just felt like we could play with anybody. And in that Georgetown game, obviously, with Patrick Ewing and those guys, like you said, even though we lost the game, it showed that we can play with anyone in the country. And so, that's what separated us. I just think we were fearless. We were, we had some swag to us. And like I said, I think that kind of permeated from the coaching staff. They just instilled that in us, that we weren't going to back down from anybody. We were going to compete at a high level. And that's what eventually took place.
I've been fortunate enough to have guys from the Sweet 16, one guy from the Elite 8 team here at URI down South County, and they sort of talked about the confidence that they had, throughout the season, and then heading into postseason when they had all that success. After the regular season ended, where was the team's mind at in terms of what damage they could do come postseason play?
Very confident, very confident. So again, we just had a bunch of guys who believed, and like I said, 1 through 13, anybody could play, but the buy-in was unbelievable because any one of us could start, any one of us could come off the bench, play starter minutes. No one really cared. We just wanted to win. And once you taste that, it just snowballs. And so, and the other thing with that team too, that was really unique was just the chemistry off the floor. We had some unique personalities, and we were fun-loving. We on the bus, on the planes, in the community, everybody kind of took to each other. And I think that was played a big part in our chemistry on the court as well.
That conference tournament, you end up winning, as I mentioned. You beat Chattanooga in overtime. I think it was 111 to 107. Each game of that conference tournament for you guys, the score gets progressively closer to then that overtime game. Like I said, how do you deal with that as a young athlete, as a young player, to sort of, have your own confidence, of course, but then also the game is getting close and the skill level is getting more even?
Yeah, that was one of the best games I've ever probably played in ever. I mean, I think it might've been 3 overtimes, I think, or something like that. And the thing I remember the most, Nolan, it was at the Asheville Civic Center, and it was mainly all green. I mean, the people just came out in droves from Huntington to support us. So it was a big time atmosphere and a big time game. And I was fortunate enough to play well in that. And it's funny because somebody was telling me this the other day. This was my birthday last week, and a couple of Marshall people had reached out to me, and one of them referred to me as Mr. Asheville. And I'm like, Mr. Asheville, but he was referring to the tournament in Asheville, and I always played well in the tournament. So he kind of called me Mr. Asheville. And after all these years, he still remembered that. But that's because of the magnitude of the game. It was a big time game, and that's I'll never forget that game forever, just because how much energy it took, the grit it took, persistence. Both teams were dragging and dying and tired, but nobody wanted to give up, and we were fortunate enough to prevail in that game. But it was one of the best games I've ever been a part of.
You guys then play Villanova in the first round, the big dance. Compared to maybe as a coach, maybe when you got to become an assistant here or at PC for the first time, how did you prepare then? Playing against Villanova without looking too far advanced and getting too overconfident.
Well, I wasn't going to let us do that anyway, with the Philly connection. I was excited to get a chance to play against, Villanova. They had a great team that year. But again, that, they end up beating us. But, again, I thought we accounted for ourselves well. They were terrific that year. They had a bunch of terrific players. They were hard to guard, and they got after you defensively as well. But I think that we learned a lot from that game moving forward, going into the following year. And, again, when you play those kind of games, it's competitive, but it's also a learning experience. But, again, I just felt like that game got us to the point where we started believing once again that we could be, a consistent player in postseason play.
Sure. There's one thing to have individual success, but then to have success between two coaches, regular season, conference championship, cleaning house, making the big dance, and your own statistics moving up consistently each of the first 3 years you're there. How do you find as a player, but also as a team, room to continue to succeed and do even better than the previous success?
Well, I think it comes back to, not being content, and, even though I had some success individually, I felt like I got better every year I was there, and I wanted to continue that, but also challenge my teammates to continue to get better as well. And, and our coaching staff did a great job of that. They were on us all the time to get better. Individually, it's a team game, but it's played by individuals. So if you get better with your game individually, it's just going to make the group better. And so I think we really did that. We got after it in the summer, pushed each other. Like I said, our pickup games in the summer were intense, and we held each other accountable.
All 4 years of being there, you find success. Senior year, you're captain again. You repeat as conference championships, and then you end up making it to the big dance yet again against Virginia. Making that run to the playoffs again, how much importance was that to compare to your junior year?
It was similar. We had some of the same guys, but again, I was more of putting a leadership role, being a senior.
Yeah.
And you always want to go out, with a bang your senior year. And, that was the big thing for us. I think we had 4 or 5 seniors who all wanted to go out the right way. And that was kind of the message, if you will. The motivational factor was to try to, obviously win your conference tournament if you can, win that, but get back to the tournament. But again, this time try to advance in the tournament, not just be content with being there. And so that was the driving force, for the whole season, to be honest with you.
After your college career, comes to a close and your playing career comes to a close, you then transition to coaching, which we'll, start to get into now. How much of your early experiences as a coach did you try to instill your success as a player into guys that you were around the same age with? And was that difficult to do?
Not really, because I've always saw the game, like I said, through obviously being a point guard, you see the game, almost like a coach on the floor. And to be honest with you, after my junior year, that's when I really realized that I wanted to go into coaching. Okay. I knew I wasn't going to play in the NBA. I had some opportunities to play overseas, but I knew in my heart I wanted to get into coaching, and this is what I really wanted to do. Didn't know if it would be college, didn't know if it would be high school, but I knew that's the route I wanted to go in. And so when I got an opportunity to do that and work as a grad assistant, I was close to those guys' age, but I still was able to implant some of my knowledge on those guys and just kind of, let them know what I knew, how I saw the game, what worked for me, how you should carry yourself, what you should look for on the floor. And for the most part, most of the guys were, very, very appreciative of that and accepting of that.
Well, that's, a big thing, because I'm sure that could be difficult for some people in that situation to be 2 or 3 or 4 years within the same age as someone and sort of having to take that, bigger leadership position than being a captain and on a team. Between, your brief experience at Delaware and then at Loyola, what did you carry from Coach Z and Coach Huckabee at Marshall, maybe even your high school coach, that you brought into your earlier experiences as an assistant coach?
The biggest thing was discipline, accountability, but the main thing I think is organization, being organized. And I think players see that. They see when you're organized, they hold you accountable to what you know. Being able to present it to the players as well was another thing that I carried over. Coach Z was extremely organized, and obviously I took some of that with me. I'm a very organized, detailed guy. And then Coach Huckabee was a master motivator, and so he had a way of getting you to play beyond what you probably felt you could. And so those are just a few of the things that I took with me from those two guys, particular, early on when I first got into the business.
At some point, I'm sure you're starting to have dreams of being at a big time school and maybe even becoming a head coach or an associate head coach. Between Xavier and Wake Forest, you spent a combined nearly 20 years. What did that mean to you, not just in terms of your own confidence, but the ability that these other, ADs and other coaches had in you to want them to be part of organizations for so long?
Well, it's funny how it ended up, though, Nolan. I really didn't want to get into college coaching. That wasn't my plan at first. I just wanted to be a high school coach and a guidance counselor. And, I was fortunate enough to meet with a coach who, Coach Jeff Jones, who was at Delaware State at the time. And he told me he watched our team practice one time, our high school team. And he said, he introduced himself to me and he came up to me and said, you're really good at what you do. One day you're going to be a hell of a college coach, that kind of thing. And that kind of trickled in the back of my head. And so, when the opportunities came about, obviously I took it and ran with it. But, that again, I just kind of was fortunate enough to get with Coach Prosser when I was at Loyola in college in Baltimore. And then we obviously went to Xavier. And he's the one that kind of took me under his wing, taught me the ropes, taught me how to recruit, taught me the business of college basketball. And I just kind of took that and ran with it, based on the knowledge that I got from him.
Well, speaking of Skip, which I wanted to get to, and rest in peace to him, certainly, you coached with them at several different institutions over a long period of time.
Yep.
What was that like in terms of seeing his perception and his understanding and acceptance of your quality as a coach?
Well, like you said, rest in peace, Coach. He's one of the most influential people in my life. He believed in me, gave me an opportunity, like I said before, and just the fact that he believed that much in me, to show that much confidence in me, allowed me to be the man and the coach that I am today. So there's no way I would be here, coaching right now if it wasn't for him. He, taught me how to carry myself as a man, taught me how to treat people with respect, while maintaining, your dignity throughout this business.
Sure.
And so I'm forever grateful for him, for, giving me that knowledge and again, just basically believing in me, to be honest with you.
Sure. I've talked to you, or asked you about your success as a player and then transitioning to coaching, and you spent years at several institutions for a long period of time. But besides, in all honesty, what does it mean to you to have your name attached to several top 10, top 15 recruiting classes, but then also players like, CP3 and players of that nature, Jeff T, that, have found success post-college? Does it hold a sense of pride to you that you're able to accomplish that?
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's very humbling, if you will, just to be involved in those young men's lives. And, the fact that they all had great careers, I'm really happy for them. And, they did the work. I always tell people all the time, obviously, I was fortunate enough to help recruit those guys and coach them and hopefully give them a blueprint to what it takes to get to that level. But I'm more proud of those guys, of the people that they've become. The way the way they represent themselves, the way they carry themselves, the way they, do things in their communities, just the people that they've become. And to me, being in it as long as I have been, that's bigger to me. It's bigger than basketball. So I'm proud of, and not just the guys like Chris and Jeff, who, have had stellar NBA careers, and Chris is still doing it, but, other guys too, who I've coached through the years, who are just successful businessmen and people and working, family men. So that's why I really do what I do, to be honest with you.
And, power to you for it being that reason, because obviously the success is great. The awards is great as well. The longevity at schools is great. But, to provide an impact, off the court that lasts a lifetime is certainly the most important of it all. You spent, almost a decade and a half at Wake Forest before coming to PC. how are you able, and obviously don't have to go into specifics if you can't, but how do you come to grips knowing that that chapter of your life at Wake Forest, it comes to a close before moving up to PC?
Well, it was a difficult transition, to be honest with you. I spent 13 great years there at Wake with phenomenal people. My wife is from North Carolina. Wake Forest is in North Carolina. My son was in high school there. I met a lot of great people there, and they were really, really supportive of me. And I did something there that's very rare for a college assistant. I was there for 3 different head coaches through their tenures. And so, that alone shows that, what that school, that institution thought of me, as a person. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of what we accomplished at Wake Forest. Having been there so long, when I knew I was going to come to Providence, it was an adjustment.
Sure.
But fortunately, you don't get a chance to work with one of your best friends in life either. And I've known Coach Cooley for over 25 years. So the opportunity to come here and work with him has been awesome. And, the way that people here in Providence and Friartown have welcomed me, has been special as well. So I'm blessed to be I've been at 2 great places, and obviously I'm still here now, and
Sure.
there's still work to do, but it's all about the people, and the people
Sure.
of Friartown are special. So I say all the time, I'm blessed.
Before you got to or the year prior you got to PC, Cooley wins it has success that year before you get there, and you guys had that first run of NCAA tournament appearances and so forth. Besides, of course, the wonderful weather that is during the wintertime in Rhode Island and Coach Cooley, what else spoke out or stuck out to you about coaching at PC?
The people, and it was a lot. It's very similar to Wake, and so they're both small schools, great academic institutions, and I've always, I've kind of flourished in those type of situations, those environments. But when I got here, and obviously I knew Coach Cooley, but when I met the people, Mr. Driscoll, who was the AD at the time, just kind of, he's been more like a mentor to me and that kind of thing. So his experience in the business as well, along with my friendship with Coach Cooley, was a very, very, very big attraction to me. I felt like I was in good hands here. I felt like they cared about me, not just for what I could bring in terms of coaching, but for who I was at my core.
Sure.
I'm a big people person. And so that was really important to me as well. So I felt really good about that. And it's all, come to fruition. It's all been true. It's been great. It's been a great experience for me, personally.
Sure. The first 4 years you're there, as I mentioned, there are big dance appearances each of those years. How do you describe that sudden success upon your journey at PC? And how do you prepare for that?
Well, the one thing is it starts at the top. Again, like I said, the leadership that we have here. And then Coach Cooley, he's, I want to say a perfect fit. Nothing's really perfect, but I don't know if you can find a better fit for Providence College than Ed Cooley. And so you tie that in with the commitment from the top, the facilities that they provided, his coaching, pedigree, what he brings to the table in terms of a coach, the respect he has nationally. It's only a matter of time before you can, start translating what's going to happen. And I think we've had some success here, but I still think the best is yet to come.
Exactly. That's the mindset you want to have. In 2021, after a handful of years as assistant coach, you were ascending to associate head coach with Ed Cooley and Ed Cooley's staff. You make, a college team, you have success there, then you become a coach and have success there. But to become an associate head coach, what did that mean to you in terms of not just at PC, but someone having the confidence in you to take on that role?
It means a lot. Again, it means a lot in the fact that, they recognize what you've done, the work you've put in. And, I've always said, I'm not, the most winningest assistant coach ever. I haven't, won a Final Four, a national championship. I just want my legacy, if you will, if you can call it that. I just want to be one of the best people to ever coach. one of the best people. And so I want people to say when I'm done, you know, man, Jeff Battle was a really good coach, but man, was he a good person? He was a great dude. And so if I can accomplish that, then, you know, with the success that my players have had, making them successful in life, again, that's really important to me. And that's all I really thrive for.
Last year, obviously the historic season that your team has, what was the mindset, but also game plan heading into it? Because obviously you can't predict, oh yeah, we're going to make this big run, but you have the confidence, I'm sure. How do you guys put that together as a coaching staff to make that come to fruition?
It all started, I thought, in the summer. You know, this past summer, we had a good nucleus coming back. We were an older team, but the additions of Al Durham and Justin Minaya coming in the summer, it just really clicked. I mean, it was like a hand in a glove. Those guys got on campus, and the chemistry just clicked. And I think the coaching staff just looked at each other and said, man, we really can have something special here. Because they're good players, yes, but they're also good people. And when you bring good people in and they don't have agendas and everybody, you know, is all in for the common cause of winning, you know, you have a chance to be special. And we just felt like with our chemistry, you know, I'm not saying we thought we would have the 16 and the run and all that we had, but we knew we had a chance to do some special things here.
You know, throughout that time, and others who have had on there, former coaches, but also former players talking, and those who have had win streaks, talked about, or I asked them about maintaining that confidence, but also composure when all that success is coming. And a lot of those guys that or kids you have are still young guys, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old. And the team is starting to creep into the top 25, into the top 20, 15, 10, highest of being 8. How do you, what do you share with those guys in order to make sure they are composed and not worrying and going crazy about, you know, what could happen if they don't keep that up?
That's a good question. And it's a really hard thing to do in this day and age because, you know, we try to tell our guys to eliminate the outside noise. And it's hard, you know, like you got Twitter, you got Instagram, you got all these things. And so when you're not playing well, you know, it can be a detriment because, you know, they get on there and they read negative comments about themselves, and then that creeps in. And then conversely, when you are doing well, they're telling you you're the greatest thing since Cheerios. Sure. And now we got to bring the egos down a little bit. So it's always, you know, checks and balances with that. But fortunately, we had an older, mature group, and they kept the main thing. And so it made our jobs a lot easier. But that's a great question, and that's the challenge of what we do, to be honest with you.
At the time of this recording, the season will be starting officially next week at the or at formerly known as the Dunkin' Donuts Center. You know, with what you've been able to achieve in previous years, how do you find the room or possibility of doing better, whether it be, you know, winning every, you know, regular season or, you know, conference championship, or making it a further round into the big dance?
Well, you have to be careful with that because everybody's going to want to compare this team starting this season with last year's team just based off the success. And so you have to make sure you keep guys focused on the task at hand. And so the mantra, I know it's coaches speak, is one game at a time.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of new moving pieces. We have 8 new players, you know, 5 transfers and 3 freshmen. One of them was a redshirt freshman. So we're integrating a lot of new pieces and a lot of new players. And so we're trying to get that chemistry that I alluded to earlier that the other group had. And so, you know, it's going to take some time, but, you know, we feel like we have some talented pieces, and we feel like we can, you know, get to where we need to get to, but, you know, time will tell. But again, you know, we have to really take it with this group a game at a time, to be honest with you.
I wanted to mention that bringing in, you guys did a superb job with that. You know, although you guys graduated, you know, key pieces to last year's team and the success that was, that you guys were able to sort of reload very over the course of that time to put in some new pieces and some pieces that already had experience as a college player. How important was the transfer portal and picking up other players for a team like PC?
Well, the transfer portal was huge for us. Like you alluded to, losing so many players, it would be hard to continue to try to win at a high level with that many freshmen at one time in this day and age. It's just not. If you look around the country, there's very few true freshmen that are, playing major minutes, and winning programs. And so we've had a lot of success, in the past year or so with the portal. And you're right, we were fortunate enough to, and I think it's based on the success we had on the court, but also the success that we've had with transfers in the past. And so they were able to see what those guys were able to accomplish, how we utilized them, the opportunities that they had, the culture we provided for them. And so that's been a big selling point for us moving forward. And I think that was a big, positive and allowed us to continue on that path, recruiting and bringing guys in from the portal.
Well, I'm looking forward to the season and the continued success that not only you have, but the team has. And I'm also looking forward to the game right in my backyard, December 3rd, against my alma mater, the UR Rams. And hopefully your team doesn't beat up on them too much this upcoming season. Before we end here today, and again, Coach, I want to express my sincere gratitude for you to want to do this. I want to end on a little segment called the one-word challenge. So in this segment, what will happen is I'll throw up a few names of people, places, or things that have some connection to my guest this week being Associate Head Coach Jeff Battle. He has to do his best to say either a word or a sentence or two words, whatever it may be, that best comes to mind. So, Coach, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do
it. Philadelphia.
Love.
Dobbins Tech.
Special.
Henderson, the Can Henderson Center.
Memories.
The Amica Mutual Pavilion.
Will rock.
Success.
That's a good one. Success. I would say this is a sentence now.
Go for it.
With hard work breeds success.
Exactly. Skip Proser.
Whew. Great man, great person, great coach.
Ed Cooley.
The man.
And last but certainly never least in this cosmic universe of ours that we live in called Earth, Jeff Battle.
Humble.
Well, that's all we can do. And a man such as yourself, hopefully, we can be humble and not be overtly over the top. Well, Coach, I want to say thanks again for taking the time to do this and let me peek in the mind of someone who's done it all in college sports.
No problem, no. I really appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Well, those out there who enjoyed it, because who the heck would it? And when my guest this week, Coach Jeff Battle, gets inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame down the line, you'll say, holy crap, I should have subscribed and followed back then. So subscribe, follow, comment, share, all that fun jazz, because you really want to do that. Follow on Twitter, Nolan Clark Knight, and Instagram, Nolan Clark Knight Show. And Coach, is there anything that you'd like to share or put out there or have people look out for this upcoming season?
No, I just, again, I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on. College basketball is at an all-time high now. A lot of great action, a lot of great teams. So everybody just appreciate the support, not only for the Friars, but, throughout the country. And just want everybody to maintain safe, with the virus and all that stuff that goes on. So everybody be safe and healthy. And as always, go Friars.
Well, in the words of Johnny Carson, the dean of shows like this, I bid you a heartfelt good night. Till next week when we see each other again. Take care.